All right, hello, hello. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Lee Adkins. Welcome to Follow Up Boss Office Hours. I'll be your host along with Sarah Busby. What's up, Sarah?
Hey Lee, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really excited to dive in with you here. We're going to be talking about building repeatable success, creating a Follow Up Boss playbook for your team. Before we do that, though, Sarah, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, maybe what you did before and what you do at Follow Up Boss?
Sure. So I always like to joke that I am the epitome of those that can do, those that can't teach. So I was a real estate agent for 3 years right before the bubble burst. So it shows a little bit of the technology that I was working with and how old I am, unfortunately. But I was terrible. I sold one house on accident and I called it a day. But I love the industry. I've actually been working with real estate agents for a little over a decade. I was senior implementation coordinator for Real Pro Systems, which is now iHome Finder. And then I also worked for Real Geeks and a subsidiary thereof as their lead project manager. And so I love real estate agents. You guys are the hardest working individuals that I have ever worked with, and I'm super duper excited to talk with you a little bit about FUB.
Awesome. Cool. And what do you do now at Follow Up Boss? I think sort of kind of people know, but it's worth bears mentioning.
So I am one of the Flex CSMs here with FUB. So I help you get ignited and excited about utilizing FUB, and I'm happy to do it.
Love it. That's awesome. All right. So, and what I don't always say this on these sessions, but one of the things I typically do is lean into you guys for a topic that you're passionate about, or you know a lot about, or you're seeing a lot. So this was your topic. I think I don't always mention that. But I love that you came up with this topic, and I think it's really great. And also at a high level, why don't you just kind of tell us like why does this matter? Like why should we build a playbook and have repeatable systems? Like why can't we just, hey, look at
Just
this one.
go.
Just go, just
Right.
do stuff.
I think consistency matters, making sure that you do have a plan that works, making sure that we're, communicating effectively because we want to keep the leads engaged. We want to keep them informed. And most importantly, we want to keep you top of mind. So having a process in place is going to be key in making sure that that consistency. And we can do that in a lot of different ways. We can track things in a lot of different ways. I'm big with a nice Word doc, just kind of those steps to take every day. But yeah, just having that kind of, set at least in pencil, if not in
Right.
pen, is fantastic.
Awesome. Love that. Very, very cool. So let's yeah, let's go ahead and if you want, let's go ahead and share screens. I know
Mhm.
also you have some articles and stuff to share. And we'll drop some of those in the chat. But yeah, why don't you kick us off with how can we do this?
So, one of the best ways to kind of formulate your day, I always like to kind of refer to it as diving into the pit. So, that's people, inbox, tasks. And so, when you're in the pit, we want to reach out to people proactively, reactively, and then with our specific tasks. And so, by having our smart list, specifically those in those really super cool collections, it's going to make your day a whole lot easier because you know what to do. And this is essentially that answer to what the heck am I supposed to do every day?
Right.
And so we get in here and we start with our proactive and our reactive outreaches. Again, we're stirring the pot. We want to keep the leads engaged, informed, and keep you top of mind. So our proactive would start with that new needs contact. We're reaching out, we're communicating, we're asking how they're doing. We're doing those temperature checks. And then we're reaching out to that or those important activities, those that are doing something. These are our reactive responses. So we go through our proactive. We stir the pot. We empty out that smart list there. Then we go into our important for our reactive outreaches, and again, we're stirring the pot. Then finally, we go into our inbox, and that's where we're going to reactively respond to any emails, text messages, or voicemails that have happened since the last time we were in our system. Then finally, we have our tasks. So again, we've got our proactive outreach, we've got our reactive outreach, we've got our reactive inbox. Now we've got our specific tasks. What are my tasks for today? Do I need to call back that lead that I reached out to when he came up on my smart list, but said, hey, can you give me a call back tomorrow? Or do I need a reminder to create that CMA for 123 Main Street for John Smith? So creating those tasks are going to be great for those little bits. But ultimately, that goal in 1 hour a day, when you reach out to your proactive leads, your reactive leads, and your specific tasks, that's the hope is that we are now scheduling appointments and we're moving that needle further.
Yeah, and just to this feels super obvious, but I just feel like I need to say it out loud. To be uber clear, those are the first three things from left to right at the top of the screen. Just you said that very well. I just want to
First three,
make it really
absolutely.
easy for people to remember. The first three things you should do are the first three things that are, right across the top of your screen, left to right.
Exactly.
Love that.
Exactly. Perfect. Now, so how you document that kind of depends on your preferences. Like I said, I really, really like shareable docs. One thing that I always kind of attribute project management to is making Jello. When you first have your Jello solution, it's liquid, it's fluid. You have to kind of test the water, see what works, what doesn't, and how you want everything to kind of fit into place. As the Jello solidifies, that's when the process becomes a little bit more doable. Now, you don't want hard Jello. Hard Jello is disgusting. But, Jello, just like project management, just like documenting, it has its wiggle room. So allow it to move a little bit. If something is in place and it's just not working, tweak it a little bit. I do tend to kind of get my blinders on. Once I have a process in place, it's like this works and this is the only thing that can ever work. But then, it's always nice to have somebody say, "Well, did you take a peek over there?" So, allow for that wiggle. It's really, really good.
Yeah, and I think, I just want to add a couple of quick things to that. I think number one, that's very much a culture thing, right? Like be open to feedback and be open to people saying like,
Mhm.
hey, I wish I had a smart list that did this, or it would be easier if we had an email template to follow up I don't know, bad number phone, whatever it is.
Right.
And something else I want to add as well, and we can touch on this briefly. It's not technically this session, but one of my favorite things about collections is now this much better description and ability to edit it and add links and bold it and add numbered items. So to your point, Sarah, like adding in instructions right here that say,
Yes.
number one, read the notes from your last call. Number two, call the person. Number three, update the stage.
Yep.
And then kind of the last thing I'll add to that, which I probably should either do a grand pause or save to the end, but I think, as someone also like you, Sarah, who loves this stuff and I love to document and figure it out, like what is the best practice? Let's nail it. I think a lot of times people want to start really big and their
Mm.
tendency is like, I got to figure out all the things. And this is why the smart list description thing kind of reminded me of this. Something as simple as creating descriptions for your smart list or a link to a script or a reminder of like, hey, smile before you call, or whatever it is. Those are all those things. This isn't an operations manual for your entire company necessarily. Like, even I didn't start there. I started with the agent handbook, which wasn't very good, made it better, turned it into the operations manual, then turned it into here's how the whole company runs. So I think people get really intimidated and they're like, oh, I have to figure all this out. What we're covering here is some ways to do this and the mindset of doing it so that when you do a little bit every week and every month, to your Jello example, it gets a little better every time. It's isn't a function of sitting down for 8 hours and like, I'm gonna master this, especially if that's not your style, if that's not your thing.
Right. Right, yeah, and it's that kiss, keep it simple,
Right.
Sarah.
Right.
We want to make sure that it's something that's attainable. When you decide, hey, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out, you don't go in there and start deadlifting 400 pounds. It just
Right.
doesn't work like that. So you have to kind of start off with what works. And so that's why I really, really love Follow Up Boss's suggested smart lists, both, for the ease of it. One, it's already there. Woohoo. But they work. Again, we're stirring that pot. We just want to make sure that we're spending that 1 hour a day making those good connections. And that's also really important too. It's not just a quick, hey, I'm checking in. We want to make sure that we're developing that relationship too. So, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and give them a call or click on the phone link actually, and give them that
Wow.
that
Use
quick
the
call.
dialer, use call list.
Oh, Look at that.
Watch out.
But, because it is really important. This day and age is very tech friendly, which is fantastic, but we need to make sure that we're having that personal connection too. So give them a call, see how they're doing. How was their surgery? Did they enjoy their dinner last night? Also, do you want to buy this house? I'm just saying. So,
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and again, not to beat it, but like I really feel like these smartless collections are the descriptions are a great place to start with
mhm,
what is the expectation? I need
exactly.
you to call, I need you to make a note. I want you to add this tag, check for this tag. Like we don't know what it is for your business, but check that they have the app, check that they're in Fellow or Real Scout or Ylopa, like
Mhm.
all of those things, but having those, done. And again, speaking again to doing it iteratively, just do one smart list, do your new lead smart
Yep.
list to start. Hey, please call 6 times in the first, 2 days, or, make a note, your goal is to get the stage out of lead, whatever those things are for your company and your smart list and your flow. And I hope I don't jump the gun on this, Eric, because I know you're about to go there. Well, actually, let's do that, and then I'll go to the next thing. So, but yeah, hitting edit in the list is how and where you can add links,
Mhm.
bold, bullet, link to a script, link to a Loom video that shows them how to use call list or any
Yep.
of those things. And I hope I don't jump the gun on you with this, Sarah, but like there almost every screen in Follow Boss has some sort of little eye with a circle around it for
Yep.
information.
Mhm.
And the how
Yes.
smart lists work right here pops out a beautiful article
Yes.
on exactly how smart lists and
Look at that.
collections work. What do you
Mhm.
know? So we're also not telling you have to write all of these, right? Follow Boss has
Right.
an entire knowledge base of all of these articles, and I didn't want to supersede your articles that you're going to tackle,
Yeah, you're
Sarah.
fine.
But just about every screen in Follow Boss has this, and it's going to open up additional information
Mhm.
that you can either paste right into a doc or link into your own doc. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. Um, so yeah, sorry if I
Definitely.
jumped the gun. I know you have
No,
something you want
no.
to share.
Well, and actually, to bring up to your point, for instance, that top collection, that number one, make sure that we're reaching out to these. I actually had an agent who was brilliant, and they have changed that to zero this out daily, and it's like, oh,
Nice.
yes, I love this. And so, it's very easy to understand. I need to make sure that I go through these, and then I believe the next section is something along the lines of if you have time, check this one, or if something along those lines. But we want to make sure that we're touching those newer leads every single day and keeping that iron hot. Um, but so we do have a fantastic doc called "Start Your Day Like a Boss." So this is the perfect daily workflow. Feel free to take a peek at this. We'll include this in the chat. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'll grab a link to it and drop it in the chat.
Perfect. But this is phenomenal. It's going to give you some great tips on, starting your day with FUB. Again, 1 hour. Give me 1 hour, that power hour of reaching out to your leads. You'll never go back.
Absolutely. All right, cool. I just found the link. So I'll drop it in the chat and I'll send any of these out with the recording as well.
Perfect. Perfect.
All right, beautiful. You can keep on rocking. Yeah, so that is a really good one to start. And that's a video. And again, something you can incorporate into your own SOPs or watch together. This one in particular is a video. Watch it together at a team meeting. Leverage these pieces. Like we're giving you tools to use in your training. You can have a training and just say, hey, we're all going to watch this video together. Um, because it's a good one.
Yes. Yep. And don't forget too, when you do first get into that, into your FUB system, you do want to check out that 20-minute boot camp. That is fantastic. It's going to help you kind of get everything set up. But, as the owners, we're going to have a lot of people that are coming to us saying, yeah, but how do I do this? Or, those types of things. So it's always nice to have that really fantastic base knowledge of understanding. One thing I will say, our support team is phenomenal. If you ever do have any questions, comments, concerns, always lean on them. They are amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Second that. In fact, well, we'll get to it at the end because I always do it at the end. I also just dropped a link to followboss.com/events which is events, but all those webinars that Sarah just mentioned are also at the bottom and they're recurring every week. So again, another total easy button for like, hey team, go watch, sign up and watch this webinar whenever you can, and we're going to talk about it in our team meeting next week, or we're going to discuss it on our next call or whatever. So I just dropped that link as well.
Nice. Yep, and in the help link too, we do have those the getting started and walkthroughs as well. But yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Do you want to also share? Hold on one second. I'm checking your articles, the link. Oh yeah. Well, you mentioned this. Sorry, I meant to jump back to this, and then we'll jump into. I think we should hit reporting a little bit just to show people some of that for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But I love that you mentioned. I'm a big fan of Google Docs, and I
Mm,
think especially because you can control the permissions, you can say, "Hey, my admin and me can edit this, and
yep.
everybody else can just view it or add a comment if they have a question."
Mm,
And then again, those links can be linked right here. Like here's the SOP on new leads. Here's the expectation on all that. So, but I think using Google Docs is a super, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can use Trainual or all the things,
definitely.
but simply Google Docs is probably something you may already have for free that works really well for this. But why don't you take us through reporting a little bit too? Because I think, it's such an easy way to be able to dive into some of this. Like how many people
Yep.
are in there? How many calls does each new lead get? Like what
Exactly.
else do I need to look at that I need to create a best practice around?
Sure. So before we dive into reporting, I want to touch on in admin under team. This is going to be a great place to check to see the last scene. How many people are getting in there? When was the last time they got in there? How? Was it by mobile? Was it by web? But it's also good to check, make sure that everybody is connected and sharing their emails, which is also fantastic. But in reporting, you do have your agent activity, which is awesome. So we can see when it loads, there we go, all good. But we can see kind of how things are shaping up. How is the month going? We'll be able to track any new leads. We'll be able to track activities from our agents, how they're doing it. Um, we can even go a little bit more granular here. So in calls, yep, last month. So in calls, we can see how many calls were made, how long those connection or those conversations were, and then depending on your power ups, if you have your recordings on, you're able to listen in on those as well, which is fantastic. It's gonna be great for some internal training, but always do take a peek at this. One thing I like to track a whole heck of a lot the answer time. How long is it taking us on average to answer those calls? Because we do want to make sure that we are ready and available to speak with our clients as quickly as possible. So, Lee, great job with your 0 seconds.
Yeah,
Looks real good.
my fake demo account. I want to show something else related to this that might hurt your heart, but like I've been looking at this a lot lately and it's
I'm
pretty
sitting
important.
down. I'm sitting down,
Can
so
you
we're
go to
okay.
agent activity and then drop that drop down, the big blue drop down to number of calls per how many times you try to contact each lead. Now, again, this is a
Oh,
demo
where is
account.
it?
The one down from there.
Oh,
Or you got one more down, sorry.
oh
How
no.
many times?
There we go.
I mean, again, this is a
Oh,
demo and it's on last month, but I did this with clients recently. I went through
mhm.
and like almost very few people were over one. And
Yes.
it takes 8 to 12 touches. It's a fact
Yep.
to convert a lead like this. So this is one of my favorite in a usually very painful way to show people. And I'm like, they're making zero point 0.7 calls per new lead. Like
Right.
that's not enough.
Yep.
But again, I like that we're covering this when we're covering it because this back informs your smart lists and your expectations around what agents are doing, so that they know they should be getting more than one call on average per
Yep.
making more than one call on average per new leads. But if they're well organized in smart lists, there's less of an excuse to like, I didn't know who to call, I didn't know what to do. Like, well, there's
Right.
50 people in this list for you to call right now.
Exactly. Well, and that kind of feeds into that. We want to make sure that we're having good conversations. We don't want to just send out, a
Right.
bulk email saying, "Hey guys, I'm, this is my newsletter. We want to have those connections, because we have to build that trust. We have to, let them know who we are, so that we can. I mean, it's a big deal buying your first home or buying a home at all. So, we have to have that trust. We have to build that friendship. But,
Yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely.
this hurts my heart, Lee.
I know. And seriously, I went in a lot of people's real accounts and I was like, ooh, there's not a lot of
Mm,
people that are more than one. Like this is an important metric that you want to know about. So,
yep.
and same thing if you're a solo. I know a lot of times we talk about teams and like you got to build this. If you're a solo, it's even there ain't nobody else to blame. You could
Right. Yeah.
how many calls am I making per person here and how quickly, and how long are they?
Definitely. So yeah, definitely utilize those smart lists. They're going to tell you who to talk to. So, give them a call.
Awesome. Love that. Anything else in reporting you want to cover? I mean, there's a bunch. I
Uh,
mean, we could probably go
y-
through everything quickly.
yeah. So texts are going to be great to track here as well. You want to try to make sure that your delivery rate is on the higher end, 99%, not too shabby. But also check on the errors. Sending out text messages are great, but make sure that they have good, legitimate contact or content within them. So not a whole lot of buy now and things like that. Again, we're having conversations. We're not, we're not trying to be the salesy shark type of thing. We want to build that relationship because one, it helps the client, and two, it keeps you out of spam, which is always good.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, this reporting in particular, calls and texts, is really important to look at for content, frequency,
Hmm.
unknown numbers, carrier filtered, all that good stuff.
Yeah. The other thing that I do love, love, love is the leaderboard. Oh my gosh, I love this so much.
It's funny. I always tell people in this account, just go to all time because the
Yeah.
numbers are so I mean, nobody's in here dialing
It's just
actual
you.
people. All time will give you a little more action
Yeah.
data, but
But this is really great too because we're able to see how many appointments are being set. You do get 500 points for every appointment that's set. You get 100 points for every call that lasts more than 2 minutes. You get 10 points for every call attempt. 2 points for every text message, and then 1 point for emails. And so again, it's going to be a great way to see kind of how the agents are performing and where they're performing the best at. Appointments are great for the big money makers, but how is their communication? How is that doing as far as, if you have more communication, if you have more of those phone calls, you're going to get more appointments. That's just how it flows.
right. Well, and speaking of, this can be an interesting historical thing if you want to screenshot this or print it to a PDF or something. As you're making changes in your system, and as you say, hey, let's all make sure we have 10 conversations a day, or we get back to people within 7 minutes, or whatever that metric is, really cool to also have some history and say, hey, look, before we did this, everybody was around, 1,000 points a month.
Right.
Now that we're doing this, I've been hyping on this a lot recently, and I'll may or may not stop, but finding these leading indicators is so much more important, right? You don't want to your measure shouldn't be our closings are down. Your measure should be, oh no, we're not enough calls are being made to these leads, or there are leads that are not contacted, or leads that aren't getting on an action plan, or things that aren't happening. You want to find it there, not when your revenue goes down and you're like, oh no, what we did 6 months ago is now causing this. So really important to potentially use this as historical as well and say, oh, look, now that we've introduced appointments, now that we've introduced this smart list, or now that we did some script training, these are going up. So I think just, like you said, Sarah, it's just super important to lay eyes on it and pay attention to it. And because it drives a lot of really important things in your business, specifically the bottom line.
Definitely. Definitely.
Excellent. Do you have any other docs or anything you specifically want to share? I'm trying to look through our notes. I jumped this around a little bit, which I tend to
You're
do.
fine.
But is there anything else in particular you want to cover tied to this? Or yeah, show us
So
your cool list here.
So one thing that we share in on the CSM team is our workflow and cheat sheet. This is awesome. Not only does it give us a great idea of all of the follow-up boss terms, which are great, like what the heck is a smart list, but it also gives us a great idea of what a stage is and how we should be utilizing that. When should we be working or reaching out to people that are in important smart list or in that new needs contact. And why? Why does this work so well? Now, one thing to keep in mind is all of those smart lists, they can be tweaked. Nothing is set in stone. So if you find that it's too much communication or not enough communication, tweak it, see what works for you. But this is going to be kind of our suggested outcome, and I guarantee if you follow this, you will see some really amazing results. So take a peek at that.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, it's so important to do this. And it's funny, I also oversay this, but you don't even need a good plan, you just need a plan. It kind of back to the Jello
Mhm.
example, right? Like it will get better as you pay attention to it and do things on it,
Yep.
just kind of naturally. And then the other last piece of this, which I'm so glad you landed right here, I wanted to hop back into a product and show, I do it every time, but I think it bears doing. Show the question mark. So if you
Mhm.
have a dedicated CSM, you can connect with them there if you want to talk more about that sort of document.
Mhm.
This is again a demo, so there's no, but if you click on that question mark in the bottom right, if you have a dedicated CSM, they'll be right there. If you don't have a dedicated CSM, there will still be a time to grab an appointment with a CSM.
Mhm.
Would highly recommend this tied to this. Now, again, support is support. Like, this is broken. I don't know how this works. I don't know why this isn't working this way. CSM is more strategy, but you can easily connect with the CSM here. Um, and then you showed a little bit of this before, but can we just look briefly through like the unified search and how like Help Center and getting started, like what takes you again right into articles you can use to
Exactly.
how do we do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, we've got our search bar, so all we really have to do is just type in here. And we're going to get some great examples of helpful tips, which is awesome. And then you do have access to our help center. Our help center is phenomenal. We break things down into what we call big bites and little bites. So a big bite might be how to send an email, but a little bite might be how do I add a hyperlink, or maybe for a lead, how do I change the stage? And so do feel free to take a peek at those. What's really great about my position as CSM is, we will help you kind of get things set up, help you get trained, which is fantastic. But it's really fun to kind of go through that those puzzles. If I want to do this. How should I get there? It's like, oh, I love a puzzle. Let's figure this out. And so that's what CSMs are. We are puzzle solvers, and you will be in excellent hands there as well.
Certified solver
Mega puzzles.
mega puzzles. I knew I had something there. So, and then also last but not least, well, not last, there's two other things, but just to touch on the Facebook community. If you're not in the Facebook community, been millions of questions asked over tens of years. Like there's a lot of great intel in there, as well as the ability to ask a question of a lot of super smart people who are doing this. So
Mhm.
couldn't recommend more if you're not somehow in the Facebook group, joining the Facebook group, searching it, ask a question. If it's related to this webinar, tag me. I'll be sure we get you an answer. Um, but just again leveraging these tools that Follow Boss provides for you to get started with more of a system. um, and look, it's never too late for this and it's never too early for this. I always tell people, if you're a solo that wants to build a team, do this now, build it like you have a team, because trust me, you're going to get busy when there's other people around asking a bunch of questions.
Mhm.
So I'll tackle that question in the chat in just a quick second. Thank you for that. That's very good. um, but leaning into that and all the knowledge that's in that group is really, really powerful to be able to ask a question of somebody who's doing it, at whatever level. Um, but yeah, again, if you're looking to grow a team, do this now so you're not running around doing it then. And I still do this all the time. I mean, I've been a user for 12, maybe going on 13 years now, and I still there's new features, there's always something to kind of tweak or re up. um so you can yeah, you can always do that. And I'll tackle this question in the chat. So if you guys do have any questions, feel free to drop them for us in the chat. We'll tackle them real quick. Sarah, feel free if there's anything else you want to tackle or just some words of wisdom as people go off to do this.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I always tell agents is, get in there and explore. What is it Miss Frizzle says? Get messy, take chances, make mistakes. There's nothing you can break that we can't fix. I have been tested on that, and so we are we're good. But always feel free to explore it. See how things are connected. Create, test leads. Send yourself emails and texts. See how that looks whenever you're responding to yourself, and check out your activity as you go onto either Zillow or onto your website. Check your leads at your leads activity. Explore that. See how that flows for you. Then you get kind of both sides. You see how it is as the agent, and you see how it is as the lead. But again, always feel free to reach out if you do have any questions. If you're trying to figure out how the heck to make this go from A to B, we're here to help.
Yes, excellent. Couple of quick questions that I'm going to answer and out loud, probably while I type, just because they're relevant probably to a lot of people. Um, yeah, you can reach out via the question mark to a CSM to try to get that guy. We will try. I will try to get a copy to share out with the recording. Just need to get permission on that. One out with the recording. Kathy, that is an excellent question. I'll share along a video. I have a video of that, of those smart lists. I mean, those are made up smart lists. Somebody's asking about the smart list collections and if those could
Ah,
be shared
mhm.
along. Um, to be honest with you, I built these for the launch webinar and for a few past recent videos that I've made. So I'll share those videos out. They do go through like some of the columns and all that. That's definitely not this session, but I'll send that with the recording so anybody that wants it can get it. Yeah, that's great. And I wish there was an easy button to do that. I'd love if I could just hit a button and say, here's the smart list. Smart lists don't work that way. But I have made some videos that go through specifically how to make these, what some of the columns are, the orders and the concepts, and all that. So, um, yeah, Michelle, I saw your question. We're going to try to get permission to share that. If not, reach out to a CSM via the question mark. See, Sarah, this is what I was talking about. People are like, oh my
Yeah,
God,
I
that's awesome.
like
I
it.
need
It's
that.
a nice one. Yeah.
So if I can get permission to do it, I'll send it with the recording. If not, you can definitely set up a time with the CSM to get your own copy and like work through it and talk through it. So
Mhm.
awesome. Great job, Sarah. It was beautiful. A lot
Thank
of
you.
information to tackle in a short period of time.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Well, we'll do it again sometime and appreciate you guys being on. I'll send out links with the recording most likely later today. Beyond that, you have questions, whatever, you can reply to that or tag us in the Facebook group and we're happy to answer. Awesome. Thanks again, Sarah. I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Lee. Have a good day.
You too.